Hello and welcome back to the Rear Winging It F1 podcast. I am one of your hosts, Harry McKay, and I'm joined by
Ellie Ledwell.
I'm Mitchell Mennell.
Welcome back to round 2. We're in Saudi Arabia, back to Jeddah. Obviously last season, the penultimate race, first time racing there. It was a bit of a controversial one with the Max and Lewis incident, and a bit of a destruction derby. With
Demolition derby.
Demolition derby, yeah. With a lot of people thinking that it wasn't very safe and why are we racing here?
It's a purpose-built street circuit, which doesn't quite make sense.
No.
Not much makes sense in Saudi though.
That's true. That's true. I go back and forth between thinking it's a good track and a terrible track, but I think I have sort of come to the conclusion it should just be binned.
Really?
Right. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it should be binned, and not all of these were crashes, but Albon DNF, Bottas DNF, Alonso DNF, Ricciardo DNF, Latifi DNF, Tsunoda DNF, Mick Schumacher DNF.
There was only 13 finishes, wasn't there?
13 finishes. Now, Mick Schumacher didn't start, Tsunoda didn't make it to the starting line.
But do you watch racing for like the race itself or the crashes?
A crash every now and then to keep it spicy is okay,
Apart
but
from Abu Dhabi.
This is unsafe.
Yes, and I think a lot of the drivers complained about
the
it.
safety.
It's too high speed to be a narrow street circuit.
Blind corners everywhere. Everything is a blind corner.
And with it being a new circuit, and I think the layout was changed slightly from last year, they're going into it literally blind. They have no idea what's around. If someone breaks down or has a crash, you're going into it 200 miles an hour, you can't see it.
Yeah.
Sport's gone soft.
Well, yeah, I mean...
We'll put you in the car and see how you do.
Oh no, I get car sickness.
Take a tablet, you'll be fine.
Also, not just the whole human rights thing, which I know we've discussed before, so we won't return to that too much, but during qualifying, I believe it was, Max said at one point, I can smell burning, and they're like, well, it's not the car, we can't see anything, and obviously I'm like, oh dear.
It was free practice, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it might have been practice actually. I was like, oh, the car's broken again. And then you could see quite a big plume of smoke out of some of the cameras on the cars. There'd been a missile strike on the Aramco site,
nearby,
a couple miles away from the track, and considering that's the main sponsor of the track, it's the Saudi-owned oil company. It was a little bit worrying for the drivers, and so obviously they had this long meeting.
Went on till early hours of the night.
I was going to say it was quite a long, intense meeting, and they came to the conclusion they were going to keep racing.
I think that they took a bit of persuading, though, the drivers at first. They were quite reluctant.
A bit of money.
I think it was pretty much, they were pretty much at the start adamantly against it, and by the end they had all agreed. I don't know what assurances they had. There was rumours that the government had said, we can assure you nothing else is going to come. We've made a peace deal with them for the weekend, this kind of stuff. And you're like, how much is true, how much is not? I think they should not return there.
Yes, I agree. I don't think that I know that people say that you can change the opinions of the people in the country by going there and showing them a different way. But is it up to us? They live by different rules. It's a different culture, a different society. Do we need to go and change it?
Can do that.
I do agree sport can, but I think I mentioned before about soft power, and I think that was a good reason for going. Not maybe the only reason, but it was a positive of going. But with it, like, missile attacks a couple mile from the places, and I know loads of countries have human rights, and so sometimes you have to just put it aside, I guess, as awful as that sounds. They could have been in danger. I don't think it's worth it.
I think they're at war. They are in a war with a country that borders them. Like, it's right next door. The threat is very real, and I think it showed that. Why are you engaging with people that are putting Yemeni people through such a bad humanitarian crisis?
You saw the reaction, how quickly we dropped Russia and
and
Mazepin and all this. It does feel a bit hypocritical when you have what amounts to basically genocide, and there's not the same reaction because it's sort of normalised and it's, you know,
And because the British are selling
almost
them the
government.
weapons.
I was going to say almost government endorsed by our lovely government. So, you know, I just think as fans, if we can make a bit of noise and say, hey, I know the sport's not perfect in the world that we are. We can't be perfect. Every country's got issues, but if you can highlight the main ones, that's something.
I think safety is a very, very big issue because normally it's crashing when you're driving, not having a missile strike.
Exactly.
Like Mario Kart.
It literally felt like it. People,
Bullet builds
The
coming
bombs
through.
that you throw
Even that's dangerous.
in our house.
Right, so returning to the race, put the rest of it aside. Did we think there was an improvement? Racing, actual, overtaking, following, was an improvement on last race?
I thought the quality of racing had improved. Yeah, I think it was a bit more what we were looking for. I guess when the regulations changed, it was getting back to I think what we wanted. Still not perfect, but
yeah, people were a bit closer. There was a bit more overtaking. We'll come to it, but the battles were a lot better. Would you agree, Mitch?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So let's start with qualifying. I'll give you the top 5. Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, Ocon. You'll notice no Mercedes in that top 5. That's because, much to the heartbreak of Mitchell, I know, Hamilton did not get into Q2, qualified P16.
it's just embarrassing. The best
Yeah.
qualifier, that's factual. The best qualifier of all time, perhaps the best driver of all time, can't even get the car out of Q1. It speaks volumes. I think.
I think they said the car setup was different, but Russell was P6,
No,
so that's a 10-place gap. I don't think that has anything to do with Hamilton's driving. He could have had an off day. The man doesn't seem to, but it could have been an off day. But it seemed like the setups were different.
So, Harry, at least he still finished the race.
I think if you look at who won this race, I think if you look who won this race, 25 points in the bag for Verstappen. Let's go.
Was he still above?
That's the same
was he
as
above
Hamilton.
Him? Yeah. Is Hamilton still above him at the end of?
After this, probably.
Sure. I don't know. Yeah.
No, I don't.
No, I don't think so.
Not after this.
Not
No.
after this.
No. Alright.
Perez. I know he had it in him, but P1 baby, qualified Q1, P1. How do we think about that?
I do like to see the number 2 drivers. I like to see him doing well. I like to see him beating the number 1 driver.
Yeah.
And some teams don't like to admit that they have a number 1, but I think it's quite obvious.
You
Perez,
can normally tell, yeah.
Perez is the number 2, so I always like to see him beating Verstappen. So
No, yeah, I was happy. Yeah. I think he's going to get better and better to see him go on. I'd like to see him if Max, has a few more breakdowns potentially, maybe Perez give him a fair run.
Yeah, a proper challenge would be nice. Yeah.
And not be known as Max's 2.
Yeah.
And be
Because we've seen a fantastic driver, and it's always been qualifying that has been a bit of his weakness. So putting it on pole is quite a big statement for that.
definitely.
I don't want him to go down be like the Bottas of when he was at Mercedes, just be a number 2 of Hamilton.
Yeah, no one wants that really,
No.
do they?
Except the team. I think the teams quite enjoy having a quiet number 2, one that gets the results but doesn't make a...
Not going to moan about it.
I say, to be honest, Bottas was probably a hindrance to...
I think
No.
Bottas is the best
Back
number
then.
2 driver
Yeah.
that the sport's ever
No, he was a
had.
good number 2 driver, but
I think as we're more removed from it, people look back and think, geez, why didn't he get the respect that he...
Yeah.
But last season, he was qualifying 11 to 12.
Yeah, sometimes he does...
No, he's a
slip
good
up,
driver.
but-
I'm a fan of him.
Yeah,
To
he's got
win-
weaknesses, yeah.
No, yeah.
To win 8 consecutive constructors championships, you have to have 2 good... I know they
Yeah,
had their
yeah.
car was the main thing, but they did have to have 2 good drivers. So.
And, qualified P8 here, another good result in the Alfa Romeo. So, he was great at Williams. He's doing good now. I think he's a good driver.
He does have a rookie alongside him.
Yeah.
So that could be...
No, yeah. I've always seen him as a really good driver. He just had a poor season, definitely last season, and yeah.
So coming to the race, I'll give you some of the main highlights. So obviously Tsunoda and Mick didn't start. Schumacher had that big crash, and he's all right, but decided not to race. I think mostly for the car. Another crash, and I think that would have been most of their.
It would have been their budget with the
stuff
cap,
gone, yeah.
And also, I think he was probably in a bit of pain. It was quite
a bad one, wasn't it?
Quite
So-
a high impact, yeah.
Nothing painkillers can't fix.
I don't know if you're
That's
meant
what
to
you
drive
want
on
in a car.
painkillers that strong.
Dope him up and put him in. Let's go. So Perez starts off, keeps first place. He's obviously very good at defense, but it was still very nervous. But there he goes. Max starting in fourth, overtakes Sainz quite nicely. First lap. That was pretty much that from the start. Lap 5. This is where we get the first signs of better racing, I think, with the two Alpines. Same car, they're neck and neck. It comes down to driver
the team,
skill.
let them race, which I think was nice to see, because sometimes
it was
they
refreshing.
are worried they're going to crash into each
Yeah.
other, especially on a street circuit
Especially
like
when you've
this.
got two pink cars in the street circuit.
Yeah.
My mind's going back and it starts to panic, but different drivers is all right. Well, Ocon's still there, I guess,
yeah.
but and it was sort of right to be nervous because at one point Alonso was almost forced into the wall, but I think it was let go as a sort of racing incident. But he carried on going, so it was all right. That was about a 3-lap struggle, I think, and it went on a bit later. But Alonso did take the position in the end, and then his car broke later. But we'll come to that. Lap 15, it was fairly boring, really standard stuff apart from the Alpine up to then. The Ferrari team comes out to pit, but because Perez was in front, the undercut didn't seem like it was going to be very good. I know they were talking about that. But Ferrari went for it. Their strategy teams haven't been good in the past, but it worked here. Perez went into the pits. Leclerc stayed out. And then Latifi. Everyone's favourite driver, just like last season, just like last year.
The same place.
Same place. Time is a circle. He crashes.
So, yeah.
Screws Perez over. He was the only one that had pit, so everyone else goes into the pit. Means Perez is down in fourth. Just unlucky, really.
It is always bad luck.
Mm-hmm. Should have won it early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he deserved it. Didn't put a foot wrong. It's still a long way to go, but
Good for him.
I reckon it would have been his.
At one point, I thought Hamilton, the way he's got moving through cars, he had a chance.
He got I don't know if it was this one or later on, but he did get messed up. He went to pit, I think.
No, the safety car messed him up as well.
Yeah, this was later on, I think, when Ricardo's car was sort of in the way.
Yes.
And he couldn't. The pits just closed, so that he was unlucky. He was unlucky. But on the restart, Leclerc is leading, and he leads for the next 20 laps. So it's fairly standard there. Lap 36 is when it all starts to go a bit wrong. Alonso's car breaks down, loses power. Ricardo loses power. I think it was an overheating issue for a lot of them. With the new cars, the reliability isn't so good. Bottas goes into the pits for the third time. He retires. And then, lap 42 to 46, 4 laps of just, two greats of their next generation. This is what we wanted.
The future.
Max and Leclerc trading places for the lead. Did this excite you, this?
It did excite me, but I don't know. As a McLaren fan, it's not the same.
I know my dad was just depressed at this point. He was seeing what was going on with Mercedes. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved, like I said, all 4 teams going for it, but I wanted Max over Leclerc, so that gave me a bit of reason to root for the fight. But
yes.
I was just as invested in the 2 Alpines, so I think it's just nice to see close racing.
It's nice to see the racing being a bit tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Once that happens, Max goes on, lap 50, wins the race. But once again, Ocon and Norris fighting till the very bitter end. I think it was here last year, Ocon was doing a similar sort of drag race to the finish line and just missed out on a podium. This time, though, he takes 6th, beats Norris. Norris gets 7th. So nice little fight at the end there as well, which was quite nice and good for Ocon.
Yeah.
5th. So overall, did we like the race? Did we think it was a good one?
I thought it was better, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like the last 2 sided races. I've enjoyed.
They've definitely been.
The drivers haven't, but
Yeah, they've definitely been
haven't.
intense. They've been some of the most, on edge races, but I don't know if it's for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
If
it's
it
good
was
to say.
the same race on maybe the same track or maybe a track that's a bit safer, but in a different country, I think it'd be a bit
Exactly.
different.
yeah.
The next thing we know, they're gonna have a race like Mario Pole.
The gap between Verstappen and Leclerc was only half a second when they crossed
Yeah.
the line, and then obviously Norris and Ocon, they had their sprint finish. So I think because we've had it seasons before where there'd be like a massive gap between drivers finishing first and second or third and fourth or whatever it was, and I think it's nicer to see it close to the end as opposed
right
to
up to the
just
line.
close at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that so far, it's only 2 races, but we haven't had any, snooze fest kind of races where, especially last regulation change. I know you said previously their cars aren't as close as we wanted, but it seems like there's not a Mercedes situation where one engine or one car is so far in front they have to turn it down,
Yeah.
which is good. We want everyone to be pushing and not coasting along. Driver of the day. Who are we thinking?
I'll go for Perez. I think he was unlucky. I think he was, racing very well, and he's got unlucky. And I think he would have won as well.
He
and
was
deserved
good all
to win.
weekend as well.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
consistent.
Not even plus qualifying.
Yeah.
He's just a bit unlucky. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm going for Ocon because I think he did really well against Alonso. I know that Alonso did win the battle, but I think obviously the golfing experience is massive between the two of them. I know I go on about Ocon quite a bit, but I think he's doing really well against Alonso. I didn't think he'd measure
I mean, he does
up.
get the luck. I mean, his car didn't explode like Alonso,
Yeah.
but still, I do rate him.
Yes.
I'm going to go for Hamilton.
Ooh.
No, I'm just joking.
Okay. I was quite confused.
He was unlucky, but and the car setup obviously wasn't his fault.
There
but
was a radio message where he said, "I never get the luck with safety cars," which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah,
After last
I
season.
was going to say it's been twice here that he hasn't been so lucky, but in the past, Hamilton's had plenty of blessed luck. He's had his time.
The conclusion to last season, he got quite lucky, didn't he?
Not last season, all right,
sorry.
but when you've won 7, I think you can pack it in. You've probably had some luck.
He's won 8 really, but
Yeah, we all know he's 1-8.
Hulkenberg in 12th was quite good for stepping in for Vettel again.
Yeah, for the Aston as well. It's not looking.
No, mostly because 6 cars retired, and that's why he was 12th. But still,
Yeah, when you only have 13 finishes, it's not hard to finish 12th because they were 12th and 13th, the 2 Aston Martins, so plumb last.
Plum last, yeah. But he beat Stroll, which was funny. So
Yes.
that's a win, really. I'm going to give it joint to Verstappen and Leclerc for that battle because I loved it. It was good. It's what I wanted.
you can't do that. It's
I'm
driver
doing
of
it.
the day, not drivers.
Drivers. That's my.
We'll just pick all 13 you finished.
Yeah.
Can't stop me. That's what I'm doing. Next time, we're going to Australia, where the racing season should start.
Yes.
So please do join us for that one. Any closing thoughts, Ellie?
No.
No? Mitchell?
Not really.
We got a very salty
Definitely
McLaren
that
fan
one.
and a very salty Mercedes fan.
I'm not Mercedes anymore.
Oh, yeah,
We're
sorry.
all Ferrari.
Sorry. This has been the Rear Winging It podcast, the home of the world's biggest Ferrari fans. We'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
I don't even know who the races are.